The boy stared at the stray dog with bad intentions. He deliberately lowered the hanging bacon by another foot, trying to tempt the stray into making a mistake. That way the boy would finally have a perfect excuse to shoot the big yellow dog dead. As the dog stared at the slab of venison, its heart wavered back and forth with temptation. Early the next morning, the boy woke up still half asleep. He hurried to the front door and grabbed his rifle, eager to see whether his trap had worked overnight. He opened the door. The strip of cured meat still hung there perfectly untouched. The boy Wes was shocked. In his mind, animals had no principles, but this big yellow dog had completely surprised him. At noon, Wes and his mother were working on the farm. Meanwhile, his little brother somehow caught a baby black bear. The child had no idea how dangerous that was. That was exactly why people called kids little troublemakers. The cub's cries caught the attention of Wes and his mother, and also drew the mother bear charging toward them. To protect his little brother, Wes grabbed an axe and rushed forward without hesitation. Suddenly, the dog darted in front of Wes and charged at the giant bear. It fought like a fearless warrior. Even though the bear was 3 times its size, the dog showed no fear at all. Its bravery, courage, and loyalty slowly made Wes grow fond of it. Even the giant bear became wary of the dog, standing upright and retreating backward again and again. Soon, the fierce battle came to an end. The moment their mother laid the younger brother safely onto the bed, her panic finally faded away. After driving off the bear, the dog nervously returned to the house to check on everyone. Thankfully, the little brother was unharmed. Wes walked over and gently petted the dog. He no longer complained about it. Instead, he praised it with admiration. That night, the dog poked its head into the house for the very first time. It seemed to be complaining about how lonely it felt outside. Wes understood immediately and gave a hand signal. The dog obediently climbed onto the bed and quietly lay between the two brothers, enjoying the warmth and affection it had not felt from humans in a very long time. The next day, Wes and his mother were still planting vegetables in the yard. The dog stayed beside the younger brother, guarding him and playing with him. They wandered down to the riverbank, where a fish happened to swim past them. The little brother jumped into the water without hesitation, but he was too clumsy to catch it. He called for the dog to jump in, and the dog immediately leaped into the river. With one snap of its jaws, it caught the huge fish. Holding the fish high in the air, the younger brother ran excitedly to his mother and shouted, "This dog is amazing. It caught such a huge fish." Even Wes began liking the dog more and more. At noon, their mother told Wes that one of their cows had gone missing. She asked him to take the dog up to the back hills and look for it. Soon, Wes and the dog arrived in the hills, but they had no idea where the cow was hiding. Wes pushed a large rock downhill, creating a loud noise to scare the cow out of the forest. Surprisingly, the trick actually worked. The frightened cow mooed loudly. Wes and the dog immediately followed the sound. Sure enough, the cow was hiding there, and it had given birth to a calf. The dog charged forward to distract the mother cow, while Wes snuck around behind and quietly picked up the calf. Unfortunately, the cow noticed what he was doing and became furious. It immediately targeted Wes for attack. Seeing the danger, Wes turned and ran for his life. Maybe because he was too nervous, his legs suddenly gave out, and he fell to the ground. At that critical moment, the dog lunged at the cow and slammed it to the ground with one bite. The cow staggered to its feet and charged again, only to be knocked down once more by the dog. The cow struggled upright again and staggered a few steps forward. This time, it had completely surrendered. Wes proudly walked past the cow, carrying the calf over his shoulder, while ordering the dog to drive the mother cow home. But even after returning home, the cow remained aggressive. It kept trying to break free from the rope. When Wes tried milking it, he was kicked straight to the ground. The cow continued thrashing wildly. Left with no choice, Wes called the dog over to discipline it. The dog calmly walked toward the cow, like a strict father dealing with a misbehaving child. The cow instantly quieted down. It stood perfectly still, too afraid to even look the dog in the eyes. Now Wes could finally milk the cow properly. Slowly, he began depending more and more on the dog. One day, Wes took the dog hunting for wild boars. Before long, they discovered boar tracks in a muddy pit. Following the scent, the dog tracked the herd to their hiding place. Charging in alone, it cornered the entire pack in one area. One of the boars tried to escape, but the dog intercepted it with a bite and forced it back. Under the dog's terrifying pressure, the boars did not dare move. Then the dog turned toward Wes and barked twice, signaling that he could make his move now. Wes threw a rope and successfully lassoed one of the boars, but the boar struggled violently, dragging him straight out of the tree. Falling into the middle of the herd terrified the boars, and they immediately attacked him. One boar clamped down viciously on his leg and refused to let go. Wes struggled desperately and screamed for the dog to save him. The dog broke through the pack and bit down on the attacking boar, finally allowing Wes to escape. He hid in a corner and wrapped his scarf around his bleeding leg. But suddenly the boar herd fell silent. Wes called out for the dog, but there was no response for a long time. Panicked, he ran back to where the fight had happened. The dog was lying on the ground, covered in wounds and unable to move. Wes burst into tears and blamed himself. He quickly took off his own clothes and wrapped them around the dog's injuries to stop the bleeding. Now he needed to hurry home and get his mother for help. To protect the dog from another boar attack, Wes begged it to stay alert and hide inside a nearby cave for the time being. The dog dragged its heavy body toward the cave entrance. Every painful movement made the brave dog whimper in agony. Then Wes sealed the entrance with a rotten log and sprinted all the way home. After explaining everything to his mother, she worried about Wes's injuries and wanted him to stay behind while she rescued the dog herself, but Wes insisted that the dog had gotten hurt saving him. Even if his injuries worsened, he had to go back. Seeing his loyalty and determination, his mother finally allowed him to be stubborn this one time. Soon they returned to the cave. Outside the entrance stood a flock of vultures. Thankfully, Wes had blocked the cave earlier. Otherwise, the wounded dog would have become food for them. They opened the entrance. After removing the clothes wrapped around the dog, Wes' mother realized the injuries were far worse than she had expected. She told Wes to pull a strand of hair from the mule's tail. She needed it to stitch the dog's wound shut. After threading the hair through the needle, she began sewing the injuries together. Even through all the pain, the dog still licked its owners lovingly, as if trying to reassure them that it was fine. Wes' mother instructed him to cut 2 bamboo poles for a stretcher. They needed to bring the dog home immediately for treatment. Once the stretcher was finished, they carefully carried the dog home. Back at the house, the dog quietly rested beside Wes while they both recovered from their injuries. Before long, both of them healed. The dog accompanied Wes outside for a walk. At that moment, one of the cows suddenly staggered around as if it were drunk, before collapsing to the ground. Their mother explained that a nearby wolf pack had been infected with rabies. The cow was foaming at the mouth and stumbling around. Clear symptoms of rabies. It had probably been bitten by a wolf. The cow had already lost its mind, and could attack humans at any moment. With no other choice, Wes loaded his rifle, took aim and put the cow down with a single shot. That evening, to stop the disease from spreading, their mother dragged the cow's body outside the farm to burn it. The dog stood guard nearby, while Wes stayed inside with his little brother. Suddenly, their mother shouted for him from outside. Wes immediately sensed something was wrong. He grabbed his rifle and ran toward the burning field. The smell of roasted meat had attracted a starving wolf. The dog was locked in a savage fight with it, while protecting their mother. Wes raised his rifle and aimed, but the dog and the wolf were tangled together too closely. He hesitated, afraid of hitting the dog. Gradually, the dog began losing the fight, and was pinned to the ground. Wes could not hesitate any longer. He raised the rifle and fired. After the gunshot, both the dog and the wolf fell still. Wes stared at the dog in panic. Then slowly the dog got back up. Limping badly, it walked toward Wes. Wes smiled proudly at the dog. But suddenly, his mother realized something. She stared at the dog in horror.
It was lucky for us, son, but it wasn't lucky for old Yeller.
He's chewed up some, but he ain't bad hurt.
No wolf in his right mind would have jumped us at the fire. Not even a loafer wolf.
Even though it broke her heart, she knew she had no choice. If the dog remained alive, it could bring harm to many more people.
Old Yeller just saved your life, and Elizabeth too. And they saved mine and Alice's. We can't. We don't know for certain. I'll pin him up where he can't get out, and then we'll wait.
In the end, Wes managed to convince her to give the dog a chance. 2 weeks later, Wes and his mother returned to feed it. After opening the cage door, they saw the dog seemed healthy and energetic again. Wes told his mother that maybe they had worried for nothing. Perhaps they should let the dog out. But his mother explained that rabies symptoms could remain hidden for up to a month. To be safe, they would keep the cage closed until the full month had passed. Time flew by, and finally the last evening arrived. Wes cut off a huge piece of bacon to give the dog a special meal. But the moment he opened the cage door, his face turned grim. The dog's mind had already begun slipping away. It bared its teeth and growled at him. Still, Wes refused to believe it was true. He placed the meat in front of the dog and urged it to eat. Even though the dog no longer recognized him, he still believed it could recover. After closing the cage door, he walked back toward the house. His mother asked how the dog was doing. Wes tried to hide the truth and said it was fine, but his mother immediately saw through the lie. Wes argued that anyone locked in such a cramped space for that long would naturally become irritable. Meanwhile, the younger brother secretly slipped outside, planning to open the cage and free the dog. Unfortunately, their mother caught him just in time. Terrified, she screamed for him not to open the door, but the little boy refused to listen. At that moment, Wes rushed outside after hearing the commotion. Just in time, their mother managed to hold the cage shut. Inside, the dog snarled and barked wildly. Staring at this familiar yet terrifying creature, Wes finally broke down in fear and cried. Their mother retrieved the rifle from inside the house. She told him there was no hope left for the dog. For everyone's safety, it had to be done. Wes replied, "It's my dog, I'll do it myself." He slowly raised the rifle and pointed it at the dog with trembling hands. He had to choose between love and responsibility. In the end, he chose responsibility. One gunshot rang out and put the dog to rest. For the dog, perhaps this was also a kind of release. In the end, Wes buried the dog at the place where they first met, building a small stone grave for it.